Robservations with Robert, Meyer, Burnett.
Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, your sommelier of sci-fi and cinema, your evangelist of the imagination, your existential Mr. Rogers. That's right, me, Robert Meyer Burnett. And once again, I am robcasting at you, you imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity. Well, as you know, last year, we made up a film festival, and we got a lot of entries, and I've been remiss in ending it. It just kind of, it didn't end. It never ended. We never had an ending date to it. We did, but I was remiss, so I profusely apologize for letting it linger for almost, 6 months, half a year. But it's time, ladies and gentlemen. It is time, kind sirs, gentle beings, however you identify across these 28 known galaxies. This is Robservations, episode 700. And it is time to honor and remember that, yes, we did have the first annual Intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. And 20 semi-finalists have been picked. The judges are judging, and I think in 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to actually have an awards ceremony for the winners. And there are 11 categories with which to win. There are 20 semi-finalists. 20. And we are going to be grouping all of the semi-finalists. You can go to the website. You can see them on the YouTube channel. All the semi-finalists will be named. I will get to those shortly. But on a personal note, I just wanted to give a heartfelt thanks to all of you. All the members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity community. You know, when I started this YouTube channel, I didn't really know what it was going to be. I didn't know if anybody was going to watch. I didn't know what I was going to say every day. I really didn't. It was undefined. It's still undefined. I'm still finding my way every day. And the thing that keeps me coming back is you, the audience. I've often said that we have the best community on YouTube, and I think that is absolutely true. And we're always expanding our audience and trying to reach out and create a bigger sense of community. And to that end, I wanted to announce that there is a Post-Geek Singularity Discord server now. And you can go to the top of the live chat right now and get on our Post-Geek Singularity Discord server, where we can interact, we can talk to one another. I'll probably end up doing Discord chats, all of those things. It's very exciting. I want to give a special thanks and a shout out to Joshua Levesque, our moderator, who has been spending a lot of time putting this together. So we do have the Post-Geek Singularity Discord server now available for all of you to interact and be discordant on. But again, a heartfelt thanks to all of you for participating and still being here and showing up every day. And it's certainly been a journey, and I'm looking forward to, I guess, if we keep marching forward like this. A year ago in May, it was our 400th episode. Now it's our 700th episode. So I guess in another year, we're going to be at 1,000 episodes, which maybe I can retire then. No, I don't know. We'll see where we go. The audience is always growing every day. And again, I just wanted to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. Today's going to be mostly a show with your letters and things like that. We are going to be giving away later a 4K steelbook, the Excalibur-esque steelbook of Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is a lot of people didn't like this art. I love this art. When I saw this, I had to have this. Now, as many of you know, you can't get Zack Snyder's Justice League on 4K in the United States because of Jason Killar. He didn't want any 4K. He's like, why would you want to sell those things domestically? Because you can't. I understand. He wanted to get rid of all physical media. He stated that he didn't want to pull subscribers away from HBO Max. Totally get it. But thank you to the ever lovely, effervescent, despite her jokes, I guess to know her is to love her. And if you love her, that means you love her jokes too, even though they get a little, she knows. No, they're funny. The lovely Emma Bannon. And I want to thank Emma Bannon for continually being my Lady Penelope Crichton Ward in the UK. If you're a Thunderbirds fan, you know who that is. I don't know if she can do a Lady Penelope accent, but it'd be cool if she did. So she was able to acquire this to give away on this, the 700th show. So if you like physical media, and by the way, I have discs to send out. I promise all the discs I owe people, including this one, will be going out this week to people who are waiting for them, including all the copies of African Kung Fu Nazis. So Justin Toner, it's coming to you, buddy. Anyway, there is an article I wanted to share because I thought this was quite interesting, and I just love this because I wanted to live in this day and age, and apparently this day and age is here. This is from CNN Business. It dropped today at 4:41 p.m. Eastern Time, about a little over an hour ago. NASA chief says Russia leaving the International Space Station could kick off a space race. This article is by Jackie Wattles, CNN Business. And, of course, this is June 4th. It is the 39th anniversary of the release of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Also of Poltergeist. There was a Sophie's Choice. What are you going to go see, Star Trek II or Poltergeist? And on June 4th, 1999, Free Enterprise, my own film, was also released, celebrating its 22nd anniversary today. My God. New York. The United States has for decades enjoyed a mutually beneficial relationship with Russia that has often served as a powerful symbol of cooperation between the East and the West in the post-Cold War era. But that cooperation could soon dissolve, and it has NASA's new chief, Bill Nelson, concerned. Russian officials are threatening to pull out of the International Space Station, the orbiting laboratory that the U.S. and Russia have jointly operated for 2 decades, as soon as 2024 in favor of operating an independent space station. Meanwhile, Nelson and the U.S. government want to continue the ISS program through at least 2030. If Russia pulls out, Nelson put simply, it would not be good. Adding to the complexity of the U.S.-Russia relations is the fact that Russia has signaled that it's willing to cooperate closely with China on plans for deep space exploration. The two countries signed a memorandum of understanding earlier this year to explore establishing a joint lunar base, while geopolitical tensions between the U.S. and Russia and China are in deep crisis over human rights issues, cyber attacks, and a range of other issues. What I don't understand is we are being attacked. There's infrastructure attacks happening every day. They are coming from Russia. I would say that would be a declaration of war, perhaps. So who knows where that's going to go. Between that and UFOs, my God. NASA is also forbidden from opening up conversations with China about potential bilateral coordination because of the Wolf Amendment, a 2011 law that bans the U.S. Space Agency from engaging in such discussions unless explicitly approved by the FBI or Congress. Boy, it just seems like we're sliding back into the old Cold War, right? We're going back 40 years of progress. What a bummer. If Russia starts just depending on China, then I expect we would have a whole new race to the moon with China and Russia against the U.S. We're already there. Let's face it, we're already there. Nelson told CNN Business Rachel Crane in a Thursday interview, for decades, upwards now 45 plus years, we've cooperated with the Russians in space, and I want that cooperation to continue. Still, Nelson says he is hopeful that a lot of talk from top Russian government officials is not reflective of the sentiment toward the United States within Russia's space agency, Roscosmos. I can tell you, whatever the politics is where we have a very strained relationship with Russia right now at the Putin level, I can tell you the workers, the space workers, they want to continue with the Americans, Nelson said. On Friday, Nelson held his first phone call with Dmitry Rogozin, who has led Roscosmos since 2018. When reached by phone on Friday, NASA Press Secretary Jackie McGinnis said Rogozin and Nelson discussed the future of the country's cooperation in space, but there was no firm promises made on Rogozin's end regarding how much longer it intends to remain a partner. According to a statement from Roscosmos, Nelson did bring up his intention to continue operating the space station through 2013, and Rogozin expressed support for Nelson, as well as addressed several questions that had been initiated by the U.S. side earlier and now are substantially hindering the cooperation. The statement berated the sanctions introduced by the American administration against the enterprises of the Russian space industry. Rogozin also announced a number of research initiatives for joint Russian-American cooperation, and the parties agreed to activate talks in all fields, including the face-to-face meeting format. In a separate statement from Nelson, he said the call was productive and that he looks forward to speaking with Rogozin further. Rogozin does have a history of publicly bashing the United States, particularly U.S.-based rocket businesses, including Elon Musk's SpaceX, which is a major NASA contractor and operates the only U.S. spacecraft capable of shuttling U.S. astronauts to and from the ISS. It was also Rogozin who told Russian state media in April that Russia would pursue operating its own space station that could launch in 2030, saying that the space station must be national. If you want to do well, do it yourself. But Roscosmos' actions have indicated that Russia and the U.S. will continue to share responsibilities for keeping the ISS fully staffed and is stocked with supplies for the time being. NASA's McGuinness said the country has, for example, planned needed repairs for the station and is still scheduling flights for Russian cosmonauts to and from the orbiting laboratory. There are not signs they're trying to pull out, McGuinness said. Those are not signs they're trying to pull out. She added that Nelson's call with Rogozin was intended to express that the U.S. government now has every intention of supporting the space station through 2030, an important point to reiterate since President Donald Trump's budget proposals consistently called for the space station to be retired by 2025. Maintaining a strong relationship with Russia in space exploration will be the key to keeping space a neutral territory, but Nelson said he is still optimistic. Your politics can be hitting heads on Earth while you are cooperating in space, Nelson said, as we have seen in the excellent series For All Mankind. As many of you know, I am a space supporter. By the way, the lovely Emma Bannon also hooked me up with his shirt, which is badass if I do say so myself. But I'm a big proponent of the space program in every way, shape, and form. I think it's really important that we maintain a level of cooperation. Obviously, if you watch The Martian, man, if it wasn't for the Chinese space program, we couldn't have saved Matt Damon. He'd still be on. Mark Watney would still be on the Martian surface. He couldn't even farm with his own shit anymore. I mean, we wouldn't want that to happen. Look, it's about time we got with the program and start joining up. I mean, the divisions between us, they need to really end. We need to become mature adults and move into the rest of the 21st century as a global species that's moving out into the cosmos together. I hope that happens. Petty nationalism and our ridiculous differences have no place in space. Why don't we leave them all behind? Why don't we grow the fuck up? That's what I say. So therein lies my sermon. I'm a big proponent of the space program. I think it's something we need as a collective dream for humanity. We really need to start reaching for the stars. And just like Casey Kasem said, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. I think that's what we need to be doing. And I think it'll benefit all of us. The byproducts of space research will trickle down through the rest of our world. The technology will be great for us. I got a package in the mail the other day. I wanted to read this letter. This was written on May 29th, 2021. Hi, Rob. I realize that this may be late, but consider this a late birthday present. It's in the same month, so it still counts as a birthday present. I wasn't sure of your size, so I hope it's not too big. It can never be too big. The bigger the hoodies, the better. I do know you are an Expanse fan, so I hope you enjoy this. You might have to wait until after the summer is over to wear it, though. That is true. We are certainly into the summer months here in Los Angeles. Enjoy and stay metal while you live long and prosper. And this comes from Fernando Barrero. So, Fernando Barrero, thank you very much. We certainly park our shuttlecrafts in the same shuttle bay. So, first of all, as I can get this out, Fernando sent me a small miniature of the Rocinante from The Expanse. Now, not the Rocinante that some people were able to crowdfund. I was a douchebag and slept on that goodness. Boy, was that a mistake. I mean, that thing's like huge. Huge! But this is pretty badass, I have to say. So, Mr. Barrero hooked me up with this Rocinante hoodie, which is badass. So thank you for that. Very, very, very exciting. We're going to have some guests at 2:30 or 3:30. The Gilmore brothers, one of them is a moderator, but they're going to come on and talk. But now, without further ado, the first annual Intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival, the semi-finalists. First, let me just say, ultimately, I have to say that while I thought there were amazing entries, people stepped up, there's still movies that people made that I still think about that did not make the semi-finalists, but I still think that they were excellent films. And how it's going to work is we have the semi-finalists, and then our array of judges will be judging all of the films and in various categories. And then we will announce the winners on a special show of Elizabeth's Whining About the Movies, where Elizabeth and I will announce the winners. So without further ado, I'm just going to list the films, the semi-finalists. Now, this is in no particular order, just in the order that we received the films, basically. So there are 20. The first of the semi-finalists. By the way, can I just say my disappointment? I really was hoping that there would be some entries, some intergalactic entries. We got no extraterrestrial entries in the film festival. That doesn't matter. If we do another one of these, I am still going to call it the Intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival, just so you know. So without further ado, the semi-finalists. Crawl Space, directed by Zoe Holmes and Patrick McDonald, written by Zoe Holmes, produced by Stephen O'Halloran. Confidence, written and directed by Jake Kamara. Nautiloid, written and directed by Richard Eve. The Foil Man, written, produced, and directed by William La Rochelle. Dog Bless, written and directed by Ryan Leone. Unnatural Fears, written and directed by Hendrik Liu, produced by Sarah Victoria Peterson. Stayin' In, written and directed by Jordan Settembrini, produced by Jordan Settembrini. The Thing That Happened, written, produced, and directed by Mark McCowan. The Hammer, written and directed by Johnny Topping, produced by Barry Morton. All the Stars Are Red, written, produced, and directed by Shane Collier. This Is Your Enemy, written, produced, and directed by Anton Barnett. Ascend, written and directed by Danny Jeffs, produced by Duncan Kinnaird, Connor Kinnaird, and Danny Jeffs. The Pale Man, produced and directed by Steve Foley, written by, now let me see if I can get this right, Miltildes Giannakis, that's a tough one, and Steve Foley. There's Something in the Silence, directed by Mike Castro, produced by Mike Castro and Mike Lewis. Ruin Nation, written, produced, and directed by Torrin Atkinson. Election Year, written, produced, and directed by Christopher Cameron. The Squish and the Night of Candy Corn Terror, written, produced, and directed by Dan Pleagle. Flattened, the movie, directed by Shane Wallace, written by Hoang Tran and Shane Wallace, produced by Shane Wallace and Shauna Berry. Instant Noodles, the making of the Space Rob video game. Where is the Space Rob video game, by the way? Written and directed by Neil Basconcillo, I'm not sure, Neil. Produced by Joshua Florentino. And finally, Timothy, written and directed and produced by The Critics, a Nigerian filmmaking team. Now, I want to clear up something. Timothy, I just posted. I thought that I posted it earlier than I was kind of saving because I want to have one film. This film was submitted to us in 2020. It was not submitted after the deadline. It just hadn't gone up yet. And I wanted to be clear on that because people are already like, did you let somebody? No, this did come in on time. So those are the 20 semi-finalists. I want to thank everybody for participating in the film festival. There are certain films that I did not take, that didn't accept or were not in the running, that haven't gone up, but I'm going to put them up, like our own The Richards film, because I couldn't, as a moderator, wouldn't, So you'll be seeing those going up in the not too distant future. But so those are the 20 semifinalists. I really was astounded by the response of all of the filmmakers. I think everybody that participated should be proud of themselves. And of course, there are awards. Your entry fees were paying for those things. So there are going to be awards and trophies and all of that. And of course, Beecher's Handmade Cheese is sponsoring an award and those kinds of things. So there's even cash prizes. So there you go. And we're going to finally announce the winners in, as I said, 2 or 3 weeks, depending on Elizabeth's schedule in school. But I'm very happy to finally be ending the film festival, which means the short story competition is going to continue. We're going to figure out a few more parameters about what we're going to do with that, but that's going to be more officially relaunched sometime this coming week. So look out for that. We're going to be running, we still have a contest for both the cover of the book and, of course, short stories. And the rules were 5,000 words or less. And I did want to show something that I thought was really cool. My man Zevius actually sent me something that I've never shown that I'm going to show because it's kind of cool. And it is an example of what a cover could look like. So here is Zevius's. He just tossed this off. I mean, the guy's so talented. Here's a cover he did for what could be the cover of the book. The book is called The Imagination Connoisseurs. And the idea is, how do we define, what does it mean to be an imagination connoisseur? How did you become an imagination connoisseur? What are the ramifications of being an imagination connoisseur? So the anthology is going to be called The Imagination Connoisseurs, as we've said before. And the premise is, I don't know, I leave it up to you. But it's going to explore the entire idea of what an imagination connoisseur is in whatever way you choose to express it. And again, as I said, I'm putting this up because Zevius had done this. I'm not necessarily endorsing this as the cover of the book. I'm just saying it's a beautiful piece of artwork that he did, and he was inspired to do it. So it's pretty damn good, and this wouldn't be a bad cover at all. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kind souls, gentle beings from across the 28 known galaxies. Now, what we're going to do with the short story contest is we're going to publish a hardcover anthology. Now, everybody who is in the book will obviously get a free copy of it, but I think we're either going to crowd fund the book because it'll be, I want to do a hardcover, hopefully slipcased. I know Mike Bodden's going, no, with a dust jacket. That would be what I want to do. I think that would be amazing. And otherwise, why do it? And then you want to have something that's really nice, and it'll be something that we can actually sell, but mostly to pay for itself, because obviously printing hardcover books with dust jackets and slipcases, it ain't cheap. But as a book collector myself, I love those kinds of things. So we're going to start in earnest on that very soon, and I think I might even be to promote the contest. I might start doing a few videos of myself reading the entries and see what you guys and gals and gentle beings and kind souls across the 28 known galaxies, what you folks think of the entries. I think it'd be kind of fun. So we'll see. I don't know what you might think. And for the 700th show, I wanted to give a massive shout out to Ron Chavarria. Ron made this, a faux Bond poster. Very funny, from Robservations, with love. So thank you for that, Ron. Very much appreciated. You know, it's funny, this picture that he took, this picture of me from, I was with Isaiah Mustafa, the Old Spice guy. Look at me, I'm on a horse. I mean, you should have put Isaiah Mustafa in here as like Felix Leiter or something. That would have been badass. Not that I'm complaining. I just wanted to thank you. And Ron says, hello, Rob. A quick poster for the 700th show. I hope you enjoy it. James Bond posters are not easy to create. So many things going on to tell a story. I hope you like the idea. You may have multiple emails from me. Sorry, my Wi-Fi was currently down at the time. Thank you, and have a wonderful show. Sincerely, Ron C. Well, Ron, thank you so much for your very lovely efforts, and I can't thank you enough. And so thank you. I cannot help but be touched. So, what do you all have to say? You have a lot to say. I got a lot of letters, and I'm just going to jump into them. David Atkin is the first up today. Hi, Rob. I would like to give my quick thoughts about changing the ethnicity of characters, like with the comments our Lord and Savior Kevin Feige said about casting a white woman as the Ancient One. Could they have cast an Asian man or woman? Yes, but as said in that Doctor Strange film, the Ancient One is a mantle that's been passed down through the ages, so at the beginning it would have been a Tibetan man, but at the point of the Doctor Strange film, the role has been passed down and is now the woman, and so on. With Captain America, I see it as the role of Captain America as a mantle that is passed down, also which started with Steve Rogers and is now passed down to Sam Wilson. If they just recast Steve Rogers as a black actor, it would be forced. But Sam Wilson is a different character that takes the mantle of Captain America. With a black Superman, if they did the same origin and made him Clark Kent, it would be forced. But if they made him a different Kryptonian with a different backstory, it would be interesting to see. Thanks for reading, Dave. Listen, I agree with you. I have no objections to race or gender swaps as long as they're motivated and you have a reason. Because the thing is, look, I think creators are going to have to. Once you do that, you're creating a question in the audience's mind. Why? Why have you done this? And is it intrinsic to the story? Well, I think it should be. And if it isn't, I don't know why you're doing it. Because, the audience is going to be like, well, hey, wait a minute. But we'll see. I mean, again, great characters and a great story. That's all I'm looking for. Remember the old Burnett axiom, which began, never put your universe before your characters and story. But I keep adding to that, never put your agenda before your characters and your story. So, look, you know what? Ta-Nehisi Coates can be a great writer. I don't know if his comic book work is so great, but his novel is sort of his memoirs, but Between the World and Me, if I'm getting that right. I thought that was a great book. And I'm looking forward to see what they come up with. I want to love it. I do want to love it. Let's see. Who is next? There's so many. There's so many to read. Why don't I talk about this one? Because you know what? It's not really a monumental Robservation show if I don't have a letter from the lovely Willow Yang. Now, apparently, Willow, if memory serves, was supposed to get a diploma on June 2nd. I don't know if that has happened, but that if she is, does that mean she's a doctor now? Can we call her Dr. Yang? I actually have a friend named Howard Yang who's also Dr. Yang, but I want to now start calling Willow Yang Dr. Yang. I don't know if anyone can help me out with this. Willow, are you there? Because I want to know, can we start calling you Dr. Yang? Because I love the fact that we've followed someone's journey to become a doctor in the 2.5 years this show has been on the YouTubes. So anyway, Willow writes in with another one of her fab-boo letters. Greetings, Rob. Returning to Star Trek Enterprise, I'm writing to discuss the issue of the Prime Directive that was explored in The Communicator. To give a recap of the episode, Archer and his crew had just returned to the Enterprise after visiting a pre-warp alien planet, which is apparently on the brink of war, when Reed realizes that he had accidentally left his communicator behind, very much a piece of the action. Archer and Reed travel back to the planet to search for it, but unfortunately for them, some soldiers had already found the communicator. They are arrested under suspicion of being spies for the Alliance, the faction that their captors are apparently in conflict with. During interrogation, the prosthetics that they are wearing to blend in with the natives get destroyed, and after further examinations, the aliens realize that they're of a different species. They begin suspecting that Archer and Reed came from another planet, but the two concoct a lie, telling the aliens that they're actually genetically modified soldiers created by the Alliance, who has also created a multitude of advanced weaponry. Unable to determine whether they are aliens or genetically modified, their captors decide to kill both Archer and Reed to further study their bodies. Fortunately, Trip, T'Pol, and Mayweather travel to the planet using a cloaked Suliban ship and rescue the two before the execution can be carried out. Although they were able to retrieve all of their gadgets, including the communicator that had instigated everything, T'Pol notes that Archer still had influenced the culture of the planet by changing their captors' perception of the Alliance. The end. The central moral quandary of the communicator is, of course, the Prime Directive, Starfleet's rule of non-interference when it comes to pre-warp societies. I do think that there are some inconsistencies regarding how the directive is interpreted and enforced throughout the different Star Trek series. In the original series, there have been quite a few instances where Kirk and other Starfleet officers appear much laxer when it comes to revealing their presence to pre-warp civilizations. For instance, in A Private Little War, Star Trek's allegory for the Vietnam War, the crew initially went to a planet while still dressed in their Starfleet uniforms, even though the natives there were so primitive that they haven't yet developed firearms. It was further revealed that Kirk had previously visited the planet years earlier and befriended one of the natives, Tyree, who is fully aware of the fact that Kirk and company are space travelers from a much more advanced civilization. The Next Generation, however, makes it clear that Starfleet officers must not make their presence known to pre-warp societies and have to disguise themselves to blend in with the natives when interacting with them. Thus, the Prime Directive in the original series appears to be more about direct interference, although Kirk has gone against that as well in episodes like A Taste of Armageddon and The Apple, to name but a few examples, whereas it becomes more stringent in TNG, prohibiting Starfleet from even being able to reveal themselves to more primitive cultures. One can interpret this change as being a natural progression as Starfleet evolves over the centuries. As they experienced and saw more problems with cultural contamination, they would naturally tighten the protocols. However, Enterprise takes place before TOS at a time prior to the creation of the Prime Directive, yet Archer's actions in the communicator were much more in line with the 24th century version of the rules than the 23rd century version. There are a number of options that Archer and Reed could have taken in the situation they found themselves in. I will just examine three. The first option is to just leave their communicator on the planet and hope that it doesn't have too big of an impact on the society's development. The second is to tell the truth to the inhabitants that they are actually an advanced civilization from another planet. The third, which is the option that the two ultimately took, is to lie and pretend that they're actually inhabitants from the planet and find a way to explain away their technology as well as clear biological differences from the natives. Personally, I think that option one might have actually been the best course of action. Once Reed had discovered that his communicator was no longer at the table where he'd left it, but inside a room that he had not been in, an obvious sign that someone had found it, it's probably time to bail. Any further attempts to retrieve the communicator would have almost certainly escalated the situation, and indeed that was exactly what happened. And considering that the communicator is really nothing more than a fancy cell phone, a relatively harmless device compared to something like a phaser, the likelihood of it having major negative impact seems relatively low. Sure, there was that one instance of a single book causing an entire planet to turn into mobsters, but that was, in a piece of the action that happened on Sigma Iosha. But that was likely just a single extreme anomaly. Not to mention the fact that McCoy actually ended up leaving his communicator behind on Iosha at the end of a piece of the action, and Kirk pretty much shrugged it off. It is, in my opinion, at least the least damaging of the three options. The second option would be to reveal the truth to the inhabitants, something that Archer and Reed had to consider after getting captured. We've seen Picard do just that in TNG's Who Watches the Watchers, to mixed results. Initially, the natives, the Mintakans, didn't take the information well, and their society quickly devolved into chaos. Eventually, however, they did come to accept that Picard's just an alien with advanced technology and not an all-powerful god as they had initially believed, and Picard appears to leave their planet with order restored. Whether that remains the case is unclear, since the crew never appears to have revisited the planet. Now, the aliens in the communicator were certainly much more advanced than the Mintakans were. Indeed, they already suspected that Archer and Reed were aliens, and hence it would have been much easier for them to accept the truth. However, they were also on the brink of what appears to be a major war, which would make the situation dicier. This brings me to the option that Archer and Reed ultimately took, which was to lie to the inhabitants. I do think there is some story that they could have concocted to explain away their technology and unusual biology that wouldn't have significantly affected the alien culture. Unfortunately, the lie they ended up going with, that they're actually genetically modified super soldiers created by the Alliance, was definitely not that. Indeed, it's quite possibly the worst thing that they could have told their captors. Tricking someone into believing that their enemy had secretly been developing highly advanced technology as well as an army of super soldiers is basically dumping a barrel of gasoline on a fire. And yes, I do realize that they had to come up with something whilst on the fly and being interrogated, but they've had plenty of time to dwell on the possible consequences of the lie during their imprisonment, and it really boggles my mind that neither of them appeared to realize how dangerously inflammatory their deception was. Now, I do appreciate that T'Pol does point this incredibly obvious problem out to Archer at the conclusion of the episode, but I do think that Archer should have been able to figure that out for himself. That should have been a part of the discussion that he had with Reed while the two were debating over whether or not to reveal the truth to their captors to save their own lives. In conclusion, I found the Communicator to be a middling episode. While I thought it presented yet another interesting dilemma centering on the Prime Directive, it is somewhat bogged down by rather questionable decisions that the characters make. Personally, I think that Archer and Reed would have been better off telling the truth, or at least some variant of it, once their captors had discovered their unusual physiology. Not only would it have saved their lives, but their deception was almost certainly going to dramatically escalate tensions and potentially plunge the planet into a very ugly conflict. Furthermore, their captors will probably eventually figure out the truth anyways, once they've discovered that the Alliance didn't in fact have any super soldiers. There's just no putting the genie back in the bottle at this point. Live long and prosper, Willow. Well, Willow, what a fantastic letter. Once again, knocking it out of the park. I mean, I think you're right. I think they went with the absolutely the worst possible outcome, or the worst possible lie they could have told, because immediately you're convincing these people that, their opponents are very far in advance, and maybe that would goad them into attacking while they still had time, thinking that, my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to combat this new threat of this amazing technology? And I completely agree with you. I mean, the Prime Directive, I think, is a good idea, because obviously, I'm thinking now with all this UFO stuff in the news, what if there's this alien technology? What if they landed on the front lawn of the White House like Klaatu did in the Day the Earth Stood Still? You know, and we had irrefutable proof that we're not alone in the universe. What would that do to our civilization? It would tear it apart. It would tear it apart. I mean, the people that are deeply religious would have to grapple with the fact that the Bible doesn't mention anyone else. I mean, it says God created the heavens, I guess. And you could say that, well, aliens are part of the heavens. But I think if aliens were more advanced than we are, and they didn't have, say, a Messiah myth, what would that say about God? So I think it's definitely problematic on a number of different levels to interfere with civilizations. So I think the Prime Directive is always a great thing. And also I think that when they were making the original series, most of the civilizations, obviously Aminiar and Vendikar, had technology where they could fight wars. They just chose not to in A Taste of Armageddon. But I don't think, I think it was at that point self-defense, because the Enterprise had been considered a casualty, and they expected everybody on the Enterprise to beam down. And I think, Kirk never broke the Prime Directive. He only did that to liberate people that, like the Archons. They were the Archons that had to return to liberate those poor people on that planet who were who were under the sway of Landru. No, but I think it's always something, as a Star Trek fan, you're always debating the Prime Directive and which things, what can and can't we do. It's always a great philosophical debate. Love it. Jason writes in, by the way, great letter, Willow, as always. You can read all of Willow Yang's letters on our website, theburnettwork.net, under Willow Talk. Jason is here. Jason says, "Hi, Rob. As we just recognized a horrible event in this country that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma 100 years ago, I wanted to write to you. When I first heard of this terrible show of humanity was the opening scene of HBO's The Watchmen. After viewing the first episode, I called a good friend of mine who recommended the show and was both shocked and appalled to learn that the event had actually happened. This event is also highlighted in an episode of Lovecraft Country, only this time I'd known the atrocity had occurred. I shared this knowledge with my wife, who also had a hard time believing this has been kept a secret for so long. I was wondering your thoughts if HBO or Hollywood played a part in this event not being secret anymore. It's scary to think what else has been hidden. Hollywood has tried enlightening us before. Aaron Brockovich, Dark Waters, and in those I'm left wondering what we can do about any of this. The same goes for this racist act. I can only hope I raise my sons to love and be tolerant and hopefully see and treat everyone with respect. Thanks, Rob. Well, Jason, I don't think this has necessarily been hidden. It's just one of those historical events that doesn't get discussed because why would it? Those colored folks who got massacred in Tulsa by those white business people. I mean, it's amazing that our history, we talk about whitewash, we talk about things that are left out of our history books. I mean, all of Black America has a great point here. The fact that we don't know these things, that this isn't common knowledge. I mean, I don't think it's not knowledge. It's not knowledge that's been suppressed. It's just not knowledge that is necessarily taught. And it should be. And thank God to the producers. I mean, I hate to say it, Damon Lindelof using that as a jumping off point. I disagreed with what he was doing with Watchmen, I think, overall, even though I thought it's a pretty imaginative and kind of an astonishing TV show. But look, more Americans need to know what has happened, need to really understand just how Black America has suffered, even after the Civil War, even after those things happened. And I think the fact that we bring these events to the forefront is always a good thing. It's always something that we can learn from. And, what was really interesting about that, the lesson, I think, is that, look, back in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you had a giant Black community thriving. Entrepreneurs, business leaders, a whole settlement, basically, of Black Americans that were succeeding. And they were destroyed for it. I mean, this is something we can never forget. And I think this is why it's frustrating. And when I say, and a lot of people object when I say this, that Black America has never been free, it has never been equal, and they've always, in a way, been oppressed, and even now. And that needs to end, and the more we know and the more we discuss Black American history, I think the better off we're all going to be. So whether we see these things in TV shows and people Google them, and that can't be real, oh, wait, it is, the better off we're all going to be. And this is our shared legacy. This is not just Black America's legacy. This is white America's legacy, too. This is what we did. And in the name of nothing other than blatant, horrible racism. And there should be no place for this kind of thing in this country. And I know it happened 100 years ago, but as this past summer, a year ago, taught us, things haven't changed that much. And it's unfortunate. Hopefully, as we move forward into the future, they will, because shows like, look at that, Lovecraft Country and Watchmen, both on HBO, brought this to the forefront. See, entertainment's not so bad after all, is it? But I want to thank you for writing in, Jason, a very important letter, and I'm glad to know you felt that your horizons were broadened. I think that's great. I did a show about New Order, a new movie that's just come out, and Sonny Dominguez writes into it. Hello, Rob, and members of the Post-Geek Singularity. It is I, Sonny Dominguez, who, according to Rob, is a name suitable for a Miami Vice drug dealer. I don't know where else to turn except my fellow imagination connoisseurs. I am, as the kids say, shook. Tonight, I watched the film New Order at the AMC Burbank. Having the A-list membership, I wanted to take advantage of seeing another movie this week. Thus, after watching the trailer and then hearing about it winning the Golden Lion, I knew it was a movie that would be at least thought-provoking. Oh, it was that and so much more. I'm still processing the movie as I echoed what a young woman said out loud when the film was over. What did I just watch? I have never been so upset at a movie and yet loved every minute of it. I felt angry, mad, frustrated, helpless, and hopeless. I was pissed off at the film because it showed humanity at its most raw and destructive. If any film is a cautionary tale of the destruction that cancel culture can have, this is the film. Much like yourself, I am concerned that if the woke cancel culture mob continues to go unchecked, that soon our leaders will become stubbornly self-righteous as Daenerys Targaryen, with tribal followers as zealous as the faith militant. If self-expression is neutered, then art will become manufactured and formulaic. Because it won't be books burned and records crushed in the streets, rather artists will be forced to express themselves with certain guidelines to be compliant. The other night on the Midnighter, you provided me with a puzzle piece on how this destructive ideology can be battled. Rock and roll. Yet unlike the past when rock and roll was an artistic expression attempted to be silenced by conservative political and social structures, this progressive movement threatens everything rock and roll stands for as well. By rock and roll, I don't just mean the music, but the mindset of a free spirit, a rebel who knows the rules, one that marches to the beat of a different drummer, the black sheep, the punk who is unafraid to be their genuine self despite what the populace expects. The only person I've noticed in the music industry who embodies the spirit of rock and roll is rapper Tom MacDonald. In stand-up comedians like Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, and my personal fave, Mark Normand, are also boldly speaking against this movement by simply not giving a fuck what the mob thinks. I only hope that the more writer and directors flex their artistic rebellious bravado once again, like the filmmakers of the 1970s. Anyway, I'd like to continue this in an actual discussion with you and another Midnighter viewer, which I have been enjoying getting to meet all the wonderful souls around the world who have called in lately. If there are any in the Los Angeles area who need a movie-watching buddy, look for me in the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook group. I leave you with two recommendations, the band Rival Sons from Long Beach, California, and the website dayoftheshirt.com. You can thank me later. Sunny D. Well, Sunny D, I want to thank you for writing in. I can't wait to see New Order. So in a nutshell, basically, there is a very posh party happening in Mexico at this wealthy family's home. Someone's getting married, and a bunch of leftists, murderous leftists, who want to take them down, invade this party, and horrible hijinks ensue. But that's all I know about it, because I haven't seen it yet. I've only read about it, and I cannot wait to see the film. I didn't realize it had opened at the AMC. I didn't know that. So Day of the Shirt has lots of cool shirts. I am thanking you now. Look at that. So everyone, I'll put this. These are pretty cool shirts. I will put this in the live chat. So here you go with Day of the Shirt. Pretty good. Very cool shirts. I can't wait to go and see more about that. This next letter comes from Darren Prescott, and Darren Prescott sends an article from Heavy.com, which said, if Viacom CBS is bought out, what happens to Star Trek? And I'll just read this quickly. Over the past few weeks, the world of streaming changed. A few weeks back, Amazon bought MGM for $8.5 billion, which may trigger a trend of consolidation and mergers. The players in the industry have been gobbling each other up recently. This includes MGM, but also Discovery merging with Warner Media, which includes HBO, and when Sony announced that they were licensing most of all their content to Netflix. A few years ago, Disney shocked the world and bought Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, which allows them to flood their new streaming network with new content. But all of this adds up to a lot of money spent and very little profit. The New York Times' recent story painted a picture for these streaming companies where they must earn 200 million global subscribers to achieve profitability. Only Netflix has been able to do this so far. In the United States, Netflix leads all streaming companies with 75 million subscribers, followed by Amazon Prime with 50 million. Disney Plus has 45 million subscribers, while Apple TV boasts 40 million subscribers. Paramount Plus has just 4.5 million subscribers, which is behind Hulu, HBO, and even YouTube Premium. Recent headlines by many news outlets and investment experts say that Viacom CBS, the parent company of Paramount Plus and Star Trek, could be next. Yahoo Finance reports that Viacom CBS is the most undervalued streaming company. Statements like undervalued sometimes indicate that a company might be ripe for a hostile takeover. Some even think that Verizon or Apple should take over Viacom CBS. Viacom CBS is not letting their close to last place spot from keeping them down. Barrett Media says that the company is moving ahead with a portfolio of professional soccer leagues to stream. Viacom CBS CEO Bob Bakish announced that the streaming service will offer one A movie per week. But what would happen to Star Trek if Viacom CBS merges or is bought out by a larger competitor? CNBC's Alex Sherman says that Viacom CBS should look to merge after the Warner Brothers Discovery's deal is done. Sherman thinks that Viacom CBS joining Warner Discovery makes sense because Viacom CBS does not have a CNN competitor. They do both have a network geared toward young people, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. Fans on Comic Book Resources have a thread discussing what might happen if Warner Brothers acquired the Trek franchise. Comments include that it basically makes sense since Disney owns Marvel and Star Wars. Why not unite Star Trek and DC Comics together, as they used to be? Don't think it could happen because Amazon just bought MGM, which comes with James Bond and a ton of other content. Remember how Disney gobbled up 3 studios one after the other? Amazon could do the same thing. They certainly have the money, and CEO Jeff Bezos is a massive fan of Star Trek. It's true, he's such a big fan that he found a way into an appearance on Star Trek Beyond. Bezos says that his audio assistant Alexa is even modeled after the computers on Star Trek. This move would make sense for Amazon as they would gain Viacom CBS's television library of over 140,000 shows and 3,600 film titles. Industry site Filmtake also says that Viacom CBS is cheap compared to other media companies which are available. Interestingly, Star Trek Lower Decks streams on Amazon Prime, not Paramount Plus, outside the United States. Trek would undoubtedly be loved in the hands of Amazon, as Bezos is a huge fan. This would definitely be a change for the franchise, as former CBS boss Les Moonves reportedly did not like Trek. He was quoted as saying that some of the shows were terrible. He's a douche. This might be a good pairing. And so, as many have reported, Netflix is shopping for franchises. In fact, Screen Rant even said that Netflix is looking for something in the vein of Harry Potter or Star Wars. A deal for Star Trek, as the closest thing to Star Wars, would make perfect sense. CBS and Netflix already have a cozy relationship, as Netflix paid for CBS to produce the first season of Star Trek Discovery. Thanks to that deal, Netflix was able to secure broadcast rights to Discovery outside of the United States and Canada. Netflix would then have access to all of those movies and television shows. Still, they'd also get the franchises they need to compete with Disney and Amazon. Oh, and the Star Trek is a cash cow for Viacom CBS, as Forbes points out. By the numbers and synergies, it looks like this pairing makes the most sense. Either way, the streaming world of Star Trek would likely change if any of those companies buy out Viacom CBS. There would probably be personnel changes, which occur all the time. But consider the last time Star Trek transitioned from one studio to another. It was at the start when Desilu and Paramount merged. Star Trek eventually got the treatment it deserved. No matter the reasons, under Desilu, Star Trek had meager budgets and had to struggle to survive, sometimes with letter writing campaigns. In the 80s and 90s, Trek had films in the theaters and multiple shows on TV, all with more substantial budgets. In fact, the Next Generation show budget was $1.3 million per episode. Star Trek is supposed to be entering a new golden age after the film side, Paramount, and the television side, CBS, are now under one roof. It is uncertain what could happen to the franchise with new ownership. Yeah, it does raise a few interesting points. Darren, I'm glad that you brought this to my attention. An interesting article, but who's to say? I mean, it still comes down to me. I think Star Trek needs stewards of that franchise that love Star Trek, and are trying to turn Star Trek into something it's not, or something else. So, I think that that's what I would like to see coming. Speaking of Star Trek, Braxton Bowles, our favorite 6-year-old imagination connoisseur, has written a letter. Hi, Rob. This letter is dictated to me from Braxton. That would be from his father. I'm so excited. This is Braxton saying, I'm so excited. I want to tell you what I'm going to do. Me and my little brother Hendrickson and my daddy are going to go to Phoenix to visit my grandma. But as we're there, the 3 of us and my daddy's friend and her 2 girls are going to drive to Vegas. But the big thing is the others are doing Vegas stuff on Saturday. Daddy and me are going to the Star Trek convention. Daddy got tickets to get in and an autograph of William Shatner, and I get to get my picture taken with him too. Daddy and I are going in red shirts so people can say, he's dead, Jim. I am so excited. Well, Braxton, you should be excited. I wasn't much older than you when I went to my first convention. You're not going to forget it. Just tell your dad he's got to bring a lot of money so when you go into the dealer's room where they have lots of stuff to buy, your dad can buy you everything that you want. I should duck, shouldn't I, Mr. Calvin? But very excited for you. I can't wait to hear your review, and I'd love you to write a letter back or maybe make a video where you tell us your tale. By the way, I don't believe I got any videos from anybody for about telling me a story of your first kiss. So that idea crashed and burned on the vine. Oh, well. But Braxton, thank you for dictating this letter through your dad. Very exciting. Always nice to hear from a young imagination connoisseur like yourself. You make it all worth doing. So thank you for that. Let's see. This comes from my favorite new professor, Esther. If you watched The Midnighter, we heard from Esther all the way from Texas. She is actually a medieval professor. Dear Jeremiah and Rob, hopefully he gets this email to Rob. Yes. Thanks so much for your camaraderie and fellowship earlier tonight. I think my connection petered out, unfortunately. It was great fun talking to you and Rob. There's too many good 70s films. Yes to Taxi Driver, Barry Lyndon, all the Godfathers, Star Wars, Alien. I can't even count them all. I need to watch Badlands. Yes, you do. My Terrence Malick knowledge is not great besides Tree of Life and the New World, the latter of which a student presented in one of my classes once. Rob, one of these days I'm going to have to get Asif to talk to you. He's a historian of space and comic book culture. We can talk space, reality, and space movies fiction, but he's in New York and doesn't keep my weird hours. He's a fan of yours, though. All my best, Esther. Quenica? Esther Quenica, is that right? PhD, Assistant Professor of History at the University of Houston, Victoria. Well, Esther, I wish I had professors like you when I was in college. It was a delight to meet you, and I can't wait till we all get together again and shoot the shit. Jeremiah has become a very welcome fixture on this channel during the Midnighter, so it's always great to talk with him. And I'm all in. Omar94, one of a few letters. Hi, Rob, moderators, and the Post-Geek Singularity. This will be a very quick letter. I just want to say congratulations on making it to 700 episodes of Robservations this June 2nd. Well, it's June 4th, 2021. This shows how the Post-Geek Singularity is still going strong. At this rate, you should be able to make it to 800 episodes by the end of this year. I also want to give congratulations to fellow Post-Geek Singularity member Willow Yang, since she mentioned how she would finally receive her diploma on June 2nd after already completing her education. So, a big congrats to Willow on that. Well, that's exciting. I mean, as I want to find out, does anybody have confirmation on this? Thanks, and live long and prosper. Well, Omar, I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much, and it's great to have you still as a foundational member of the Post-Geek Singularity. I think that's wonderful, and I love your contributions to the channel. This one comes from Dennis Chapman. Hello, Rob. Glad to touch base with you again. Today, I'd like to discuss a pet peeve of mine which seems to be escalating at an increasing rate on TV and in motion pictures. You and John Campy have talked all about this. I call the insertion of illogical scenes to expedite the drama at all costs, and it is rampant tendency in current screenwriting. Now, I realize there are a few perfect screenplays in any medium, The Godfather in cinema and Breaking Bad in television, but let me get to the problem at hand. It all began with the worst example of really bad screenwriting, the Universal soap opera. Rob, your mother will like this example from General Hospital. Carly tracks her nemesis Nell to a cabin in the northern Adirondacks near Tupper Lake in the middle of New York State. She chases Nell, who falls off a cliff, and a couple of days later, Nell's body is discovered on the Pennsylvania side of the river. What river? PA is 100 miles away and nowhere near northern New York. The nearest body of water is a Great Lake. They need a river, so they made it up. Most people would know that unless you lived in New York like I did and thousands of other General Hospital viewers. And they kept mentioning this freaking PA side of the river. Did you know General Hospital has access to a Star Trek transporter? Characters travel to and from Port Charles in minutes, from Europe and New York City to save their friends or engage their enemies. Look, I realize soap screenwriting is rushed and wretched, but this kind of illogical insertion of details to create drama is being increasingly abused ad nauseum in many movies and TV shows, to the point I find myself yelling at the TV. But then again, I am old. 70 years old. Case in point is the new Star Trek franchise Picard. I eagerly watched the first episode, so happy to see my captain from the next generation. But wait, why is he so erratic? Why is he frantically rushing around seeking help to achieve his ends while the powers that be sneer with impunity at this once respected Starfleet officer? The time-honored, calm, and reflective Picard characterization was trashed to high heaven to create high drama with this screaming Mimi Jean-Luc episode after episode until I said, enough. I didn't see Picard's ridiculous demise and resurrection, but I heard about it from you, Rob. I refused to watch any of the other new ones. Before that, there were Abrams' Star Trek movie reboots. I actually enjoyed the first one and thought JJ's version of Kirk and Spock was a hoot. Although, yes, that script had lapses in logic. Then Abrams lazily remade Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, rush-reversed the once poignant death scene from Spock to Kirk, sorry spoiler, and diminished the first revered movie in the process. But like Campia says, we still have the original, fortunately. Point is this the same promising young producer-director who gave us Alias and Lost, laugh out loud? And yes, Lost's final season script is a plane crash too. Let's talk about JJ's third piece of movie Trek sacrament from his production barnyard, Star Trek Beyond. I can only imagine the screenplay pitch meeting. The director asks, where's the picture's hook? The screenwriter replies, let's crash the Enterprise on the surface of a hostile planet, like in Star Trek The Search for Spock and Generations. The director responds, wow, 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 with our new CG tech, a modern Enterprise crash will be tight. So ends the Star Trek portion of my discontent, which happens to be my favorite franchise of life. If that's been poorly written, then Star Wars has been decimated. I appreciate the value of Star Wars when it emerged in the late 70s as an outstanding reintroduction to science fiction adventure after the promise of 2001: A Space Odyssey 10 years before. When Star Wars came out, I was in my late 20s, and I didn't have the affection for it that I felt for Trek. I really liked A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but Lucas lost me with the Ewok-ridden Return of the Jedi, and I've been disgusted with the writing all these years later on the subsequent 6 movies. Jar Jar Binks, anyone? All I wanted to see was Luke, Leia, and Han back together again, and they couldn't even give us that simple pleasure. Let's kill them all off instead. Good job, Abrams. You destroyed 2 great franchises and still made an enormous amount of money, so what do I know? Well, as a copywriter for 30 years, I do know quality writing. TV commercials also suck as well. Anyway, shortcuts and ripoffs seem to be a part of the new normal, such as the numerous insipid scenes in Army of the Dead, like a zombie horse outrunning a helicopter. Must have seen Seabiscuit reanimated. That kind of scripted stupidity makes the shenanigans in the Walking Dead shared universe seem brilliant. Or how about a protective FBI convoy in the Blacklist that gets hijacked because their vehicles don't offer bulletproof vests, armor, and glass? But we need a wrestler to get illogically shot to instigate the drama. Or the usually dependable Chicago fire. The script capsizes along with a boat the firefighters are trapped on, while a lifeguard waits 5 feet away in a raft. They don't think to shout for help through the obvious small hole in the hull. It created exciting drama for the season finale cliffhanger, though. Way to go, Dick Wolf. Bullshit. By the way, are there any more comic book screenplay writers and showrunners like Johns and Kirkman who can pillage through TV and movie treatments? Stay tuned, kiddies. I'm certain there's plenty of moronic inserts available to ramp up the action at a moment's notice at the cost of quality and common sense. I guess it's easier to cancel thought-provoking and smartly written shows like Debris and Prodigal Son because they don't appeal to the lowest common denominator fast food intellect of 2021. That, or I'm just some old guy emulating a Lewis Black rant. Manifest my ass. Boy, Manifest has continued to not disappoint, by the way. Wow. On a positive note, we haven't seen most of the screenplays written during the pandemic because the shows haven't aired yet or even been produced. Last year being pandemically sequestered at home may result in some incredible writing. We shall hope and see. Keep waving that freak flag, Robert. You and your other YouTube brethren keep me sane, bruh. I remain fucking metal after all these years. Dennis Chip Chapman. Well, thank you, Dennis. I mean, you know me. You and I park our shuttlecrafts in the same shuttle bay. I feel exactly the same way you do. It's all about the writing and storytelling. You either know how to tell a story or you don't, and I feel a lot of what we're getting these days is woefully lacking. I will say this. As much as I thought the premise of Debris was kind of ridiculous, I kind of liked the show, and I'm sorry to see it disappear. I mean, it really sounded like they knew where it was going. I think it had a terrible title. I mean, I know it's supposed to work on many levels, but debris is not. Why would you want to tune into a show called Debris? It doesn't sound like the title of a show, and I think that really hurt it. Titles are important. Don't think they're not. Well, ladies and gentlemen, kind souls, gentle beings from across these 28 known galaxies, I have a guest. I've got Paul Gilmore, one of the Gilmore bras from TwinFlicks, and I'm going to bring him on to the show. I've got more letters to read, and certainly we're going to get to your live super chats and tips and questions and all that. We will be doing that shortly, but I figured, I've got one of the Los Bros Gilmore here, so I'm going to bring him on and have him join this party, because this party is a good party, and we should all have such fun. So let me bring him in, and which I will be doing. It looks like he's sitting in front of a giant Lego background, but it's not Lego. It just kind of looks like Lego. So hold on there, Paul. I'm going to put you in as there's a little bit of production going on at the time. It's not like StreamYards where you just pop in. So please welcome Paul Gilmore to the 700th episode of Robservations, a show about something. Paul, how are you? Where's your brother?
He says he's on, so he might be in the waiting room.
I don't see him. If he was in the waiting room, I would be able to see him. I do not see him. Oh, there he is.
You got him? All right.
He just popped in. Let me put
That's
him.
What he does.
I'll put him in the chat as well. Simon, I can hear myself on your. Okay, good. Alrighty then. So allow me just to throw you in too. So, boy, we got two bros, two literal real brothers, coming on this show at the same time. I think this might be a first for
not just brothers, Rob. Twins, identical twins.
Okay, identical twins. Come on, you're different people. You know it. You've got your own identities. I can tell. I know. So with the twin brothers, the Los Bros Gilmores, instead of Gilmore girls, it's the Gilmore boys, and they're twins. So let's bring on Simon, and look at this. You guys are both here on the 700th issue or episode of Robservations, a show about something. Welcome to you, twin brothers.
It's
Glad to be here.
Great to be here, and congratulations on the 700th episode.
Well, I thank you. We've known each other now for a little bit. Now, I've got to ask you, as twin brothers, did you both become imagination connoisseurs at the same time? Or did one of you become one first and the other one had to become one because you're twins and you have to do everything the same? Or what was that like?
Same time.
Yeah, about the same time. I think Paul started watching you maybe a day or two before I did. And then he was telling me all about it. And so I was like, I got to check this out. So,
but as far as imagination connoisseurs, yeah, I mean, we grew up on sci-fi, on movies, film, everything. I mean, I think Simon told you on a midnighter once that movies literally kind of saved our lives in a sense.
Really? No, I know. Yes.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I got to pretend I haven't heard the story yet. I'm assuming people haven't heard the story on the Midnighter. Why don't you tell that story again? The two of you.
Well, first thing I got to say is that due to being twins, we tend to talk over one another. We'll try not to do that, but it's kind of just a twin thing.
Oh, I know. It'll be funny for our audience if you're going to talk over each other. The entertainment value is there, so I do not want to ruin the twin dynamic.
We're here for your entertainment. We're here to please you.
That's right. I mean, my God, if we can all be entertained by you talking over each other, by all means, sirs, please. So, okay. But no, I mean, I think it's. I mean, let me ask you this. Obviously, as brothers and twins, the dynamic would be a little different.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us, I know me, I became an imagination connoisseur at a very young age, and I certainly have lived in a time where we have watched this explosion. It's kind of been an upward curve. Even before, for me, Ground Zero was not exactly Star Wars, but the 1-2 punch of Logan's Run in 76 and then Star Wars in 77, it kind of ramped up. But once that happened, and then everything that happened after Star Wars, and is still happening, resonating, 44 years later. The world, not only do we get great science fiction, fantasy, and horror entertainment, but our world has become a sci-fi world. The technology that we used to look at in science fiction films and science fiction shows has rapidly outpaced even those visions, to the point where our computing technology, we don't have maniacal AIs like Skynet that want to blow humanity off the planet, but still, it's been so interesting. And I wonder if you might talk about what was it like growing up in this era, being twin brothers and also sharing in this amazing explosion of both the science fiction, fantasy, and horror genre across comics and video games and movies, and then also seeing the same kind of advances in technology. What has that meant to the two of you?
So we were born in 78. So
the year Superman the movie was released.
Exactly. And our first experience of our first memory of the movie that we saw for the first time in theater was E.T.
Wow. So that was 82.
That was 82. So yeah, we were very young, but I can still picture it in my mind now, the ending of E.T. when they're saying goodbyes and he boards a ship, flies up, and John Williams' score swells. I still remember it clearly today. That's the effect that these movies have on us. And I'm sure Simon can say the same. When we were growing up, especially with our dad really got us into it. And we would go to the video store, Take Two Video, Star Video up in Oregon, and we would just rent bags of movies from
like literal grocery bags. We would have our mom or dad would take us to these stores, and we would have like 2 or 3 literal huge grocery bags piled full of movies. Everything from silly cinemas to Star Trek to Jaws to, you name it, we rented it.
Even smaller movies like The Quest or Frog Dreaming. What is called? Yeah. Movies like that. I don't know if you remember. I think it was on PBS, but it was a Masterpiece Theater where they did kind of like these short 20-30 minute grim tale shorts. They released them on video back in the mid 80s, I think. I forget what they're called, but we used to rent those all the time too. And from watching all these movies, we started seeing how they were made, how the music is used, how the editing is done.
Story.
I think the first time, I've always loved film scores. And when I found out you could actually buy them, I was like, what?
Right.
You can buy the music from this? No way. And our very first score was Batman from Danny Elfman.
Sure.
And ever since then, we've got a huge collection of scores from everything. And so growing up through the 80s and the 90s, we see the progression of sci-fi as you said, when it first started in 77 of Star Wars, through the 80s, through the 90s, up until today, and how much it's progressed.
Yeah.
But we've also seen how they've based technology that we see today on those movies that we grew up with.
Yeah.
Star Trek with it doesn't. Here's a telephone. Star Trek.
I know. Yeah.
We never thought we would have a computer in our pockets, and it's just amazing. I just love it.
So going back to what you were saying about the dynamic between twins and growing up together watching this, one thing we're always asked is, what's it like being twins? I always say,
it sucks.
I always say, well, you always have someone to do something with. And that is so true, especially growing up and watching these things. When, we would go see movies that none of our friends were interested in. They were like, that title sounds dumb. Why do you want to see that? And yet Paul or myself, we'd be like, yeah, let's go. So we would always go together. So we always had that closeness, one of mind, as you might say, of going to see these movies, going to a record store and buying. We're like, I'll say, hey, Paul, look what they got. And he'd be like, yeah, I got that too. It's like, you got the same. thinking.
It was really nice because, as Simon said, you always have someone to do something with. So if we, sometimes it's nice to have a couple friends with us, but if they were busy or they didn't want to go see it, we had each other.
Right.
And so we were never alone in that experience. So we always had someone to share that experience with.
And talk about it afterwards.
Which is really cool. It's really nice.
And if to go back to how movies saved our lives.
Yes.
It kind of gets emotional for us because we were emotionally and mentally abused in school by the ones we were supposed to trust the most, by our teachers and principal. I mean, I could go on for hours telling you everything that happened, but to save time with that, we ended up causing PTSD for us both, as well as major depression, and I was suicidal from the age of 10 onward. And so we would turn towards movies. Our parents would, this was in maybe late 83 to 86 maybe. And so our parents would tell us that they would see us arm in arm together, sitting on a couch coming home from school, just watching movies all afternoon into the night, to where they even bought us our own TV and VHS player. And so they were our sanctuary. They were our protection away from the abuse we were suffering in school.
So of course, remember, this is in the 80s. So, we did have some problems when we were younger. We were a little bit slow than normal. In fact, we were held back a grade because of it. And teachers back then, they didn't know what it was called. So they just basically called everyone retarded. That's what it was. You were retarded.
Sorry for any trigger words.
And
we're all retarded in some ways. It's okay.
I remember retarded used to mean cool. So, but so teachers we had a couple teachers that kind of pinpointed different students and just treated them not good, very bad. A fourth grade teacher would stand up in front of the class and start cussing at the class. And it's a long story. So it was just a mess.
Well, they separated Paul and I as twins. Twins usually normally grow apart from each other as they age.
Right.
But they separated us. We were in first grade.
Why? What was their reasoning? What do you think?
We don't know. We've never found out.
When I talked to my mom about this, she said they wanted to force us to grow apart.
Why was that there? That's so weird that they would take it upon themselves. Look, they're just supposed to teach you things. They don't need to.
In fact, the principal even promised that if we had separation anxiety or problems being separated, they would put us together, and we did, and they did nothing about it. So we had that on top of how the teachers were treating us.
Our parents would go into the principal, trying to reason with them and say, these guys need to be put back together. We would go to doctors because it would manifest physically. We'd have terrible stomach cramps, and just, I don't want to get too deep into it, but doctors would send notice saying, get these kids back together. One of the most infuriating things was that we found out that there was a pair of triplets in same grade as we are, going to the same school. They had separation anxiety, and they put them together. But for us, they didn't. We have no idea why.
Yeah, so that's what Simon means by movies saved our lives.
Sure. Is
that we gravitated towards movies to escape. And in that escapism, we found our ultimate love for film, for movies. And since then, with the encouragement of our dad, who bought us our first high-8 camera, we started making home videos, home movies. We learned the process. We would edit. I think I told you this before on an interview we did, where we would sit and connect the camera to the VCR, then connect the VCR to a soundboard, and sit there and try to edit and manipulate the music and press that pause and button.
Oh, I know that well.
We did that for a number of years, and then
our dad is the one that bought us all the equipment, so we owe it all to our dad.
Yeah, and so we just progressed from there into filmmaking. We never went to film school, but we got into the business. We've told you before. We've edited films. We've done all sorts of things.
Written and directed. Sent in a couple films to Sundance.
Yeah, and so, it's horrible what we went through, but then again, we wouldn't be where we were because of it.
Sure.
And I remember a quote that I read in a book. I don't remember what book it was, but I've said it to some other people, and they said it's helped them. The quote was, "We all go through bad times. We all go through good times, but it's the bad times that force us to grow more than we ever thought we could." So even though you're going through something horrible, something bad, even if it's abuse, it forces you to grow and to become a stronger, better person because of it.
Right.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Absolutely.
And, and things that we didn't know how to do, we would learn from commentaries, like on Laserdiscs.
Yeah.
And they would have the commentaries. We would like, oh, okay, so that's how they do that.
Right.
And we would, manipulate and make our own movies. We would make demo reels and send it to a couple people that we got in contact with, and they loved them and said, you guys are natural for this. There's no reason for you to go to film school. You already know everything you need to know, besides like lenses and real technical stuff.
Right.
And so that's how we got into working for some people. Now we moved to Texas. We lived in LA for maybe 5 years, and we moved to Texas it'll be 20 years next year.
Wow. Where in Texas?
Fort Worth.
Okay.
Dallas.
Right.
Yeah. I'll tell you something though. Austin is essentially becoming the new Hollywood.
Yeah, it's booming.
It is booming. I mean, when we first moved here, there was a good independent indie circuit in Austin, but it has grown so much in Austin, and it's gone over into Dallas, Fort Worth area. I mean, so many people have moved in from California and Oregon into the Austin area.
Yeah.
Started their own studios. I mean, it is just booming right now. And so this is like the perfect opportunity to get into indie film, especially in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard, which is great. And that's why people like Joe Rogan, moved to Texas. I think it's interesting. I mean, Austin, I think, though, has always been sort of a hub, a hot spot where Robert Rodriguez came out of there. And so I think it's great. I mean, there's so much that's unfriendly about California, not nearly just the taxes, starting with taxes, and it's hard to produce anything here because everything's so expensive because everyone has their hands out. Everybody wants a taste if you want to film on the streets or getting permits. California has become very unfriendly to shoot in. So that's why.
You remember I'm sorry. In the 60s.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say everyone else rolls out the carpet with their tax incentives.
Yeah. And we remember in the 60s and even the 70s, people could pretty much go out and film on the streets of LA and stuff, and you can't do that now.
No.
Right now in Austin, you can still do that. As of far right now, the industry hasn't really.
Really? You don't need to permit anything?
Well,
you can just show up on the street corner?
Well, you do need a permit.
You need a permit, but you can
but,
there's loopholes.
Yeah. You need a permit, but if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's been times where we've gone out and guerrilla filmmaking, gone out on the street, filmed something really quick, dash on the street, film something, and come running back in. But of course, if you're making the movie for a studio, you definitely need a permit.
Oh no, of course. You can't roll in with your trucks and your Jennies and your craft service and be like, oh yeah, we're just, I don't know, this isn't a professional shoot.
Yeah, that'd be a little suspicious. But yeah, I mean, it's a longer story than what we've said, of course, like things usually are, but that is how movies saved our lives. And
it gave us a sanctuary. It gave us a place to go to ignore the troubles that we were going through, to share it with each other, being as close twins as we are. I mean, like I said, arm in arm, we grew to love movies because of this and learn our own ways. Now we are kind of going through the same thing. We both mentioned to you that our health is failing drastically.
Yeah.
We don't know how much longer he has left. And so we are taking the opportunity to share that sanctuary with him by watching movies along with him while he's in bed, talking about movies. I told you we introduced him to Akira Kurosawa movies that he never really thought of going into, and now he's finding he really likes them.
Well, it's funny because we've always wanted to show him foreign films in the past. I don't want to read that, is what he would say. I don't want to read. I want to watch it. And now, you know, he's seeing how great foreign films can be.
Right.
And then he said, "Are you sure this is subtitled?" And I said, "Yeah, it's right down there on the bottom, Dad. But I've told you before, once you start watching the movie and get into the story, get into the movie, you don't even notice the subtitles anymore." And so yeah, he's really starting to get into it, which we're really happy about, because sadly we don't know how much longer he has.
Right.
Today, a nurse said that the only reason he's lasted this long is because of the love that Paul and I and our mom is showing him, and caring for him, and showing him. She didn't say showing him the movies, but she said being with him and taking care of him in that way. That's why he's lasted long he has. And the longer I talk about it, the more choked up I'm going to get, because our dad meant everything to us.
I understand.
But hey, just to change the subject a little bit, you know what's really metal, Rob? What's really metal?
Metal. Tell me.
This is metal. I got this just the other day. Not the Steelbook, but I got this.
Yep. Well, I have the Steelbook, and it is metal, but this movie is fucking metal. And since you guys are here, maybe I should give this Steelbook away while you're both here on the show.
Sure.
And you know what? I just realized I was going to have a question. For the audience, and I've got one. I've got a question, but I have to verify it first. So, first of all, tell me, what do you guys think of Zack Snyder's Justice League?
I loved it. I loved every inch of it.
So, we know the story. We know the story behind what happened. That's been publicly shared.
We did an interview with Fabian Wagner, who's the DP of the Justice League, and Zack Snyder. We asked him some questions, talked to him about that in an interview that we did on our channel, TwinFlicks.
So after we saw the theatrical cut, what a dumpster fire that was.
Yes.
We walked out of that movie hating it with a passion. I mean, and we said this was not. You can tell this was not Snyder's vision. You could tell that he had more going for it than definitely what there was on the screen. So just much like other people, we've been waiting for this to happen, and we never thought it would. And I would talk to some friends in California. They're like, "This will never happen."
I didn't think it would
never happen.
I mean, here's the thing. I just want to speak to that. It had never happened before in cinema history. There was never a situation like this, and it was never going to happen as long as something had to change that didn't exist before, ever. Yeah. And what didn't exist before were streaming services. Warner Brothers didn't have a streaming service. There was no HBO Max. So this entity came into being that was able to finance, that it had the structure which would be able to finance. So it is not incorrect to have said that it was never going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, if you're not in the business, you don't understand. Number one, the theatrical cut didn't make any money. Not nearly as much as they thought it could make. So, from a business standpoint, why on earth would we spend $70-100 million to redo a movie that we just released that flopped?
They wouldn't.
And they would never do that. And if HBO Max didn't come along, we still wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
It was because of HBO Max using the funding from their advertisements or their advertising budget or whatever. But real quick, I actually talked to a friend of mine, or not a friend, but a source of mine, guy I contact with from Warner Home Media. And I was asking him, is this ever going to be released in the U.S. in 4K or Blu-ray? And he said Warner Brothers has a chip on their shoulder with Zack Snyder right now. Don't know why, Don't know what's going on. But he said that they are not going to release this anytime soon in the U.S., that they really just wanted to keep it as an HBO Max exclusive.
Yep.
The reason why they released it in Europe is because there is no HBO Max in Europe right now. And it was only, I think it showed only a couple times on different services, but then it was pulled.
Yep.
And so that's why it was released on physical media in Europe. But it's very, very doubtful it's going to be released in the U.S.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody not just a couple days ago who was very embedded at Warner Brothers, who was telling me the same thing. Yeah. And also there was certain shenanigans releasing the new version of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which didn't come out from Warner Brothers proper. It came out through Warner Archive.
Yeah.
So, which was odd.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, moderators, get ready, because I'm going to ask a multi-part trivia question that has. This is going to be a tough one. I mean, I know people are going to have to like Google the shit, and they will. Someone's going to probably have to Google it because it's that. Here's the question. If you want this 4K, remember, it's UK only, but 4K is universal. So you should, I don't know, but I think this will be. I don't think this is region coded. Some discs have been 4K discs have been region coded. I think this is probably not.
It's region free. Yeah.
Okay. Is the Blu-ray in here region free too?
There's no Blu-ray in mine.
Oh, okay. There's no. So it's because they split it across 2 discs, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's broken up. Okay. No Blu-ray. So if you have a 4K and you want this, I know Kinky Sphincter's salivating over this. I know. So here's the question. It's a 2-part question. Where was the first appearance of the Justice League of America in the comics, and what was the original lineup of the Justice League? This is a big question.
That's a tough question.
It's a tough question, but everyone's going to go to Google. And,
let me just talk about this master for a second. HBO Max, streaming services, they don't have high quality bitrate, Mbps.
Nope.
At HBO Max, it was streaming at 20 to 25 Mbps per second. This thing is 60 to 80 Mbps.
Oh my God, it looks so awesome.
It looks freaking amazing.
I know. So does Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, we got both of those, and they both, the sound clarity, the colors, everything just pops. And another thing, Tom Hogenberg was able to rescore some of the music that he had.
Yeah.
To that, which the score, I don't know, I'm sure you've heard it, but
yeah.
That score is freaking amazing. I like 4 hours of music. I mean, it's one of my favorite top scores.
Yep. I think somebody might have it. You know what, Michael, you didn't give me a number, dude. You can't just say a title. I gotta have a number. Can't just say a title. So I'm just saying. Okay. There's a couple of things. There's people. It looks like somebody's won this, but the moderators are going to have to call this one to see who actually says this, because I see that there's people who've got this already. So here's the answer. The answer is Brave and the Bold, number 28. So you've got to have the number 28. You can't just say Brave and the Bold. It's got to be Brave and the Bold 28. And the original lineup of the Justice League of America was Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, that's the Hal Jordan Green Lantern, Aquaman, and the Martian Manhunter. John Jones. That's the original lineup. So it's Brave and the Bold 28, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter. That is the answer. I have to leave it up to the moderators to tell me who was the first person to come up with that, and they win this 4K. And as the Los Bros Gilmore pointed out, this is spectacular. It looks amazing. And once again, mad props to the lovely Emma Bannon for providing this disc to give away. She also sent me one. She also, to be honest, sent me a 4K of 300, the new HMV release that goes with the Godzilla release she also picked up for me.
I'll take that off your hands free if you want.
God love. Are you kidding? No way. Have you not seen? I've been alphabetizing my Blu-ray collection.
I saw that.
You know, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Everything is all almost just so. I haven't had my entire. I even have Moja cases to set up. I mean, not all of them, but
you know what's interesting though is that a lot of people we know alphabetize their movies. Paul and I don't. When it's like we go by either genre or director or what visually looks good to us.
Yeah,
So,
well, there's a lot of people like, look, they put Criterions together, they put Arrow, and those things look really good. And I totally understand people who do that, but I've always alphabetized my movies because I learned early on that when people come over, like I probably have, I've told people that I'm keeping I probably have 3,000 discs.
oh yeah.
And the thing is, if people come over, like if Elizabeth's best friend Julia comes over and we're all going to watch a movie and she wants to look at things, if other people, they don't know shit about spines or directors or anything. So I've always alphabetized my movies, strict alphabetization. So the doesn't count.
Yeah.
The and A don't count. So it's Quiet Place would be under Q.
What about The Abyss?
Under A.
Well, that's A.
Yeah, it's
Well,
under A.
now let me ask you a question here. Very important question. With alphabetizing, how do you do, say, sequels that are not, say, Jurassic Park, The Lost World Jurassic Park? It's not Jurassic Park 2, so where do you put that under the L's?
No, I'd put it under Jurassic Park because you know what it is? It's a Jurassic Park film.
Yeah.
It's still, I mean, the fact it's called The Lost World Jurassic, it's still Jurassic Park. I mean, if you're going to do that. So
Yeah.
I do, and I'll tell you something else. Okay, now I'm telling people, here's another thing. All of, like, the Bond movies are all in a box set. So, but the Marvel movies, I do have, they're the only series of movies that I have under Marvel because I have so many discs of them. Because I've got Blu-ray discs, and I have 4K discs, and I have 4K steelbooks, and then I've got 3D versions. So I've got an entire length of just Marvel discs. And it was.
Are you saying that you're a rat pack on discs? you keep every edition that you get.
Come on, man. What are you talking about? Of course. I mean, I buy discs. Like I have got like 5 different copies of To Live and Die in L.A. just because I like To Live and Die in L.A.
Yeah.
You know, it's silly. Like Elizabeth's like, she's always joking. She's like, oh, really? You got such and such? Well, how many copies of that do you have? And
You don't want to know.
it makes no sense, but it really doesn't. But if a steelbook will come out, like I will say this though, there are a lot that I've been replacing. Like I've been going through. I'm like, oh yeah, like I if something's on Blu-ray and then it comes out in 4K that has a new Blu-ray in it, it goes away. Yeah. Unless of course it comes in like a cool, like I got the Sting in 4K, right? Yeah. And then I'm like, I don't need. But the Sting came in a cool media book. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to get rid of that. I got the Sting media book. You know, I don't know why. But in my collector-addled brain, I'm like, I can't get rid of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, I really should. The doubling up is taking up valuable real estate on my shelves. You know, I don't have room to get another shelf unit.
I was just going to say that I don't do that because I just don't have the room to do that.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of room. If you don't mind me doing a little shameless plug here,
please do so.
You're doing your giveaway.
Yeah,
I'm doing a giveaway on my own channel to Drive from Steve Wang.
Yeah.
So MVD sent me 2 copies of this, one to give away, one to review. And so my video for the review is on our channel now. And you can find out how to enter to win this by watching the video.
Dieter Bastian got that too. He showed that on Let's Get Physical Media. And you know people should get you if you know anything, you know you want that disc.
Well, and it's great too. I love it. It's good. It's got a reversible sleeve. So it's got 2 different, it's got original artwork and the new artwork, and it's got a mini poster.
Yeah.
Upside down. Mini poster. So it's a pretty cool little set there.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that. I mean, as I've been going through my collection, I was looking at, I probably have like 100 Blu-rays that are either duplicates or doubles or whatever. And I just realized that I'm just going to sell them like $5 a pop. You know, and because I got so many, like, you know, for instance, I just picked up with this cool lenticular cover, the 4K of the Final Countdown.
Yep.
Well, I have this Blu-ray. It's great. The Blu-ray's great, but I'm like, I don't need the Blu-ray of the Final Countdown because I've got this. So you pull the Final Countdown out. So I was either going to just trade them in or sell them, make it like a thing.
Yeah, and that comes with the Blu-ray as well as a 4K, and it comes with the soundtrack.
Yep. Which
What's
John
awesome.
Scott's score for the Final Countdown is great.
Oh, I love it.
It's one of the great themes ever.
Is that we have one video store remaining. It's a small chain here in DFW area called Movie Trading Company.
Right.
So every time we trade in, or we don't trade in, but every time we sell our Blu-rays, when we get a 4K of it, we always go to them and sell it instead of going to eBay and stuff. And
right.
we get a pretty decent amount for them.
It's still to this day, DVD is still the biggest physical medium by a long margin. Like it's like of all the discs sold, DVD still represents like 60%.
Let me ask you, why do you think DVD is besides Blu-ray? Why is that?
Well, why is it still selling? Because I think that what's weird to me is DVD is NTSC, and I'm like, why I can't even imagine people not having HD TVs. But I think libraries still make big use of DVD, and I think there's a lot of people that just haven't upgraded. And I know that because Criterion sells a lot of DVDs, so for me, I'm like, I can't even. It's really hard. I was having a conversation yesterday because I still have like 100 laser discs. It's really, really hard to go back and watch NTSC video.
Oh yeah.
It's even the stuff you watch streaming has been somehow up-resed or changed. It's really, really difficult. But I can't even. It's so hard.
Yeah. You'll have the giant black box set of Terminator 2 with all CAV discs.
No, I did sell a lot of those. I got rid of that kind of stuff. It was cool. I like some of it I kept. But stuff like that was, that's a great box set.
Oh, it was.
They made some great stuff, but now to me, it's just I wanted the movie I probably haven't looked at a Laserdisc all the way through in 20 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I just haven't done it. Oh wait, Mike Bodden is sending me messages as I'm live.
Yeah.
Captain Banzino would have won, but spell check changed Aquaman to Aquamarine. So the winner, the man who won this, according to Mike Bodden, is Tony Reyes, Imagination Connoisseur Tony Reyes.
Congratulations, Tony.
I guess we do have some videos that I didn't know we had them, but about people answered our story time question for the week. So I'll be able to play those tomorrow. Or over the weekend on the show.
Was that the first kiss?
Yeah, the first kiss question.
Can I share mine right now?
Please do.
It wasn't me, by the way.
Well, hang on. Let me. If you're gonna do this, allow me to add a little graphic at the first because you'll be the first. You'll be the first. We might as well get your story live. So hang on a second. What I want to do is I want to be able to put the graphic up, so people will know what that is, and that would be. So for those of you who don't know, we are starting a new thing here on the channel. Well, I don't know how long it's going to last. I thought we didn't even get any entries, but apparently we did. So I've got to figure that out. I'll get the videos and play them. But let's see, and it's called Everyone's Story, and you apparently are going to be the first to tell us this, what your story is, and what we're going to do.
My mom always said I was special.
There you go, and we're going to have this topic. So it's our thing, and here it is. It's called Everyone's Story, and I will pose a question once a week to everyone, and then you will film yourself answering the story, and then I will play these on the show, and then also I will make them separate videos to show people. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gentle beings, kind souls from across the 28 known galaxies, the very first Everyone's Story we're getting live from Mr. Simon Gilmore. Simon's going to answer the question, tell us about your first kiss.
We ready? Okay. This might be a little cheat, and it's not Paul, and it's not my mom. This was an actual girl.
It doesn't have to be. It could be your mom. It could be your aunt. It could be a dog. I make no judgment.
Okay. Well, I was in kindergarten, and they lined us up to go out to recess. I saw this girl next to me, and in my mind, you see those cartoons where the dog will kiss a girl and go, blah, blah, crazy. So in my mind, I was like, is that going to work? Does that really happen? So I looked over at the girl, and I kissed her on the cheek. Just a quick peck on the cheek.
Oh, you were going to get so Me Too'd.
And I was like, okay, well, nothing happened. Aren't I supposed to go crazy or something? Nothing happened. The funny thing is, I don't know if she knew that I did that or not, because she didn't make any reaction. She just was like nothing. But
wow.
That was my first kiss that I remember.
Wow,
So,
all right. And do you remember the girl's name?
I think her name was Jennifer.
Okay. And the teacher didn't think this was weird?
No, nobody noticed. Nobody
Wow.
said anything.
All right.
They may have noticed and just not said anything. I don't know. But she had long brownish kind of blonde hair. Yeah, she was nice looking.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show today. Where can people find you and your channel? Tell us all about your social media presence.
All right, so our channel is TwinFlicks on YouTube. There we do a lot of Blu-ray 4K reviews. I like to review the quality of the 4K, just if how it holds up and stacks up to others, and if it's worth shelling out the money to buy it. But what I do is I put in my little review of the movie first, then I go into the quality of the 4K. So yeah, it's been growing steadily, word of mouth. And then I have these giveaways like I just showed every now and then. And then follow us on Instagram, which is Paul_TwinFlicks, Twitter @TwinFlicks, Facebook @TwinFlicks.
Now, we usually aren't both on at the same time. One of us is always behind the camera, which is usually me. The interviews, we'll switch back and forth. The last few ones I've been doing, the first few ones Paul has been, so we kind of just switch off. We found it kind of confusing people if we're both there talking about it.
Right, okay.
So we take turns doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen them, but I mean, these are real, almost close production costs. It's not just a camera on a stick filming us. We do music. We have graphics. We really make this kind of an event.
Yeah, and with the videos, I always like to make them entertaining. And since we have a background of editing, I edit the crap out of those videos. Just make it entertaining instead of just a static head. But yeah, I mean, check us out if you haven't already.
Well, I want to thank you guys for being here and sharing what it's like to be twin brothers and becoming imagination connoisseurs. Yeah, sure.
The last interview we did was with your friend Dave Parker.
How'd that go?
That was awesome.
Did you talk about how great I am?
Oh yeah, all the time.
He was. Yeah, no, he had a great time with it. It was about an hour and a half interview.
And Dave's great.
Yeah, we asked him what was the biggest obstacle in making Hills on Red besides working with Rob.
Thanks for that.
He said, "No, Rob was great. You were great, but
damn well better. I paid him enough." No. So
it was real fun talking to him.
And with A Quiet Place 2 coming out, which if you haven't seen, go see that. That movie is amazing.
Yeah,
it's awesome. We interviewed the cinematographer to that, Polly Morgan. So that interview's up there too. So yeah,
well, that's great. Well, listen, guys, thanks for both coming on the show, and thanks for sharing your stories with us. And I'm sure I will have you on shows again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We enjoyed it.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you both. That was the brothers, both Paul and Simon. So thanks for coming on, gentlemen. And I'm sure we will see them again soon. Now, let's see what you guys are saying. What have you been saying? I don't know, because I've been talking and thinking, and I know that a lot of people have been firing in stuff. So I'll just jump right into it. And would anyone be surprised if I told you that Willow Yang is the first person to send in a tip? Willow says, "Congrats on reaching yet another milestone. I had assumed in the past that invertebrates are not intelligent, but the research evidence on cephalopods seemed to indicate otherwise. Are there animals that you wouldn't want to eat because they're too smart?" That's a really interesting question, Willow. I would say yes. If we found out that there were, look, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I know lobsters are. If you talk to like Jordan Peterson talks about the hierarchy in lobsters and all that, and David Foster Wallace, Consider the Lobster. If you haven't read that essay, I suggest all of you do. I'd like to believe, because I love lobster, that I can eat lobsters with impunity. But if I found out that there was an intelligent animal like cephalopods are, one day, look, I do believe that one day the most heinous crime that we're going to find out of all the heinous crimes that mankind has perpetrated over the years against and to one another, one day we're going to find out that the entire animal kingdom of this planet is far more intelligent than we ever gave it credit for. And we're gonna rue the day where we treating animals the way we've treated a lot of them. So, but yes, I mean, if I found out that there was especially if we could communicate with them, obviously cephalopods or octopuses or octopi, whatever. There's a lot of evidence that suggests they're quite intelligent. I mean, if you haven't seen, My Octopus Teacher, which won the Academy Award for Best Documentary this year, I suggest everybody should see it. It's an amazing piece of work. So I don't think I would, if I knew cephalopods were talking amongst themselves, I probably wouldn't want to eat them. But I still like squid, man. What can I tell you? Calamari. Kenneth Colton sends in a super chat and says, "Happy 700th, Rob. Congrats, my friends. Sending my Post-Geek love." Well, Kenneth, love right back at you. Muad Deeb says, "Congrats on 700, Rob. Been a great ride so far. Loving how robust the channel and community have become. So what's in store for you or us over the next 700 episodes? Continue to live long and prosper." Well, I always want to change it up. I think I'm going to be doing a lot more like, I got models to build, and here in the Robservatory, I got some equipment to acquire now, but now I'm going to have like 3 stations. You'll just see me doing more random things online. I'm meeting people like Jeremiah. I haven't really had a discussion with him about this, but I think, finding more people like Jeremiah and doing shows, or even having people do their own shows. Like, I don't know if you've seen Midnighter, but Jeremiah is somebody new that I met that he's clearly, he has a keen mind and a great intellect. I mean, I'd love to see Jeremiah do a comic book analysis show. I think that would be interesting. Obviously, he knows enough about it. But it all comes down to, it's hard to do people have a good presence on YouTube? Are they entertaining like me? But, it's tough. But that's what I'd like to do. I mean, obviously, my dream would be to have the Burnettwork be a real network. What if I could have 12 hours of original programming every day? Not for me to do, but I'd really like to have. We have a partner program, so if you want to do a show, you can do a show if you want to. We have a partner program information up on the website. You can go to the Burnettwork.net website and check it out. But as I said, everybody at the very top of this live chat, the Discord server is now live. And make Joshua Levesque not cry. Make him a happy camper. Go and join Discord and start chatting. To be honest, I couldn't even leave a comment. I don't know. I'm on Discord. I went in there and I was like, "What's up, man? I can't leave a comment." I don't know how to use Discord. I'm old. I'll figure it out. I'm pretty good with technology. So there you go. But Muad'Dib, I'm going to continue to live long and prosper, and we're just going to keep growing the channel, seeing where it goes, and we'll do more fun things. I mean, we got the short story competition. We'll finally finish the film festival. I'm probably going to do another film festival. Now I know about what to do, and I've learned some things, and we won't have a delay because I can rope other people into it, so it'll go smoother. But I think the film festival worked out actually pretty well. I was really impressed with most of the entries. Kenneth Colton sends in a super chat and says, "Time for some shots. I'm now Tom Cruise from Cocktail, pouring all your faves to celebrate this glorious day for R&B." Well, I have Pellegrino. And this is Pellegrino with nothing else in it but fizzy bubbles. So here's to you, Muad'Dib. And here's to you, Kenneth Colton, for being Tom Cruise in Cocktail. Bob the Bard Koal. Bob Koal says, Mr. B, I couldn't let this milestone pass without marking it with yet another lame limerick. Oh, God. It's been a while, Bob. Really? Are we ready? No more does the date get disrupted. At least we have show 700. The PGS Nation all love Robservations. Its goodwill cannot be corrupted. Well, I like that. It's pretty good, Bob. It's one of your better ones. I'll give that to you. Jeremiah Bailey sent in a super chat. Thank you, Jeremiah. Egardo Vigo subscribed to the channel. Well, thank you there. Justin Jorgensen sends in a tip and says, hey, Rob, Brendan Fraser is one of my all-time favorite actors. I adore particularly The Mummy. It's heartbreaking what Hollywood did to Fraser, and was wondering, what did you think of Brendan Fraser, as well as what did you think of The Mummy from the 90s? Well, too much CG, but they're fun. You know, they're fun action adventure movies. You know, I had fun with them. Actually, all three of them. All through, The Scorpion King? I liked them. You know, they're fun. There was a period of time where like Van Helsing and it just the amount of CG I just couldn't hang. G.I. Joe couldn't hang. But I like the Mummy movies. They're cool. Sean Gilstorf says, The Walking Dead is my show. With the decline in the show's ratings and now the final season soon, I hope the older fans support the show and watch it. Well, I don't think you're going to lose The Walking Dead anytime soon. I don't. But I think people are going to keep watching it. Zombies, man, I don't think they're going to go away. But I'm glad you dig it, and what a great franchise. You've got Fear the Walking Dead, and you've got the new show about Beyond the Walking Dead, or whatever. Beyond the Valley of the Walking Dead. Whatever. I don't remember the name of it. The New World. But I think Walking Dead, it's going strong as a franchise. James Fellish Fellish became subscribed to the channel, and Sean Gilsdorf did subscribe to the channel. Thank you both, gentlemen. Jeff Yerke and Mrs. Yerke send in a tip and say, hi, Rob. Just a quick note to check in and wish you well. Mrs. Y and I are parked on Serial Killer Lane watching Mindhunter and Mayor of Easttown. Boy, I really love Mindhunter and Mayor of Easttown. Also, interesting to note that Paramount Plus has lowered its prices. Live long and prosper, the Yerk Man. Yeah, with those subscriber numbers, they better lower their prices. Yeesh. Ouch. Let's see. We'll find out. S Beam. By the way, I hope your back is getting better, Mr. Yerke. Hope it is. S Beam, our man S Beam, sends in a tip and says, hey, Rob, congrats on 700 shows. In honor of your 700th, I posted a sneak peek of your metal hair sculpt on my channel. Fan Art Sculptures, Robert Meyer Burnett. You have an awesome show, and looking forward to 700 more, and congrats to the semifinalists. Well, S-Beam, thank you so much. Fairy Dragon 1, subscribe to the channel. Elizabeth Desta, subscribe to the channel. Thank you both. Our friend Timula the Spider Monkey, how have you been, sir? Hey, Robertino, congrats on reaching 700 wonderful episodes. I know I haven't been around as much as I used to, work and all that, but I wanted to drop by and wish you all the best for the show and say, here's to 700 more, your brother from down under. Well, Tim, it's good to hear from you. Always a pleasure. I'm glad you're working. Things are good. I know that Melbourne went into lockdown again for a week. I heard that from Justin, but hopefully all of that is past, but I'm glad you're working. Justin Jorgensen sends in a tip and says, I also have a question about my Zack Snyder's Justice League Blu-ray. I ordered it from the UK and it'll be here soon. I got the Blu-ray, not the 4K. The Blu-ray I ordered from Amazon says it's region-free. Does that mean I can play it on my PlayStation 5? Justin, yes. If it's region-free, you can. And I believe most Warner Brothers discs are, in fact, region-free. So I would imagine you could play it on your PlayStation 5. So that is a good thing. So that's all good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kind souls from across the 28 known galaxies, I would like to thank you for joining me for this, not an epic 700th show. Again, I'm going to do the interview thing for the 800th show. I think I'm going to plan it in advance already. I've got some interviews I'm going to bank with some people, and I'll be able to plan more. I've got 100 episodes to do it. But again, I want to thank you all for joining us on this journey for 700 episodes, which is amazing. I can't believe that we're here, that we've done all this, but we couldn't have done it without all of us being together. So I want to thank from the bottom of my heart, once again, a profound thanks to all of you members of the Post-Geek Singularity, all of you who are imagination connoisseurs that make this community what it is, beginning with, of course, Mr. Mike Bodden, with the Richard, and all of my blue wrenches out there, Louise X. Sparrow, Elizabeth Bell. Elizabeth Bell? Hello, Elizabeth Bell. By the way, after this show, have a look out for guess what's dropping on the Burnettwork to also celebrate. I mean, it couldn't be a show if there's not another movie, but Elizabeth Bell's second part of Doll Quest is going to be up tonight on the Burnettwork after I get off this show. So check that out. I also want to thank Justin Jorgensen. Who else is here? Simon Gilmore. Well, Simon Gilmore. It's like I just talked to you. And all of you. Purple Valkyrie is here. Thank you, Purple Valkyrie. And all of my moderating staff. Everybody I might have forgot. I think I got everybody. Justin, Louise. I think I got everyone. I love my moderating staff. They're fantastic. And by the way, Jared M. Snyder sends in a tip and says, "Hi, Rob. Congrats on your 700th. Solidarity in the singularity." This is a new slogan. Jared, were you the one that came up with that? Somebody threw that out at me at one of the midnight streams. Solidarity in the singularity. Man, do I love that. I'm going to start incorporating that. We need a T-shirt, a Post-Geek Singularity. I think that should be an alternate tagline, solidarity in the singularity. So Mike Bodden, get on that now, son. But thank you for that. And tomorrow, I will not be on Robservations. I have to go to an event that I have to host and speak at 2 o'clock in Hollywood. I'm actually showing Free Enterprise at a cigar bar in Hollywood. I don't even think I told Elizabeth this, but I am. And yes, so that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So I won't have a Robservations. There will be a Midnight Metal tonight, and a Midnight Metal tomorrow with Dave Parker. And we might have a pretty exciting guest that I can't announce yet because it's not confirmed. But little industrious Davey Parker is going out there and snagging us good guests. We had, of course, CK Smile from the Swiss metal band Colosseum last weekend. Who knows? I mean, we have directors like David Pryor and Brett Pierce showing up at midnight. You never know who's going to show up on Midnight Metal. It's getting to be one of the hottest shows on YouTube on the weekends, late night. A lot of industry professionals are watching, so join us, as the Evil Dead would say. And on that note, I would like to say to all of you, remember, every person you meet has a story to tell. All you have to do, that you haven't heard, and all you have to do is listen. With that, I can't even get my own sign off right. But again, thank you all very much. This was Robservations, the show about something, episode 700, and I'm very excited to dress up with Elizabeth and do our winners, award the winners of the Imagination Connoisseur Film Festival. So that's great. And by the way, for the semi-finalists, we're going to have a list on the website with links. You can just go, rather than searching around through them on the YouTube page, you can go watch them right off the page on the website. And also, we will have the short story competition starting back up again in earnest. So for that, thank you very much. And as always, have a better day.